Lucy's Kitchen, it's Lucy's Kitchen. She's Lucy and she's got a kitchen. Lucy's Kitchen.
And now that we've got your attention, let's cook. Hi there. Welcome to Lucy's Kitchen. I'm Lucy, and this is my kitchen. Today we're going to make a Bourbon Peach Upside-Down Cake. Doesn't that sound delicious? Well, it's going to be crazy good. Peaches are in season, and I just couldn't resist. I bought quite a few of them. So this is a really great way to use up a number of peaches. I need about 1.5 pounds of peaches, so that's about 5. And we're going to slice them up. I love this recipe because we don't even have to peel the peaches. And it doesn't matter whether they're ripe or they're still hard. They turn out great. Either way, I think you'll really like to try this summer when you have an abundance of peaches to cook up and enjoy. I wouldn't make this with frozen peaches because they will give off probably a little bit too much liquid. But if you want to try it and let me know how it turned out, I'd be happy to hear about it. Well, let's get started. Got our peaches. Now, peaches can be really tricky to cut open and get the pit out, but these are nice and ripe. So I'm cutting them. Okay, there's a seam on a peach, which you can see usually there's a line. So that's the way that the seed goes. I'm going to cut it opposite to that. So I'm going to start it this way. Cut around. Then I can twist my peach and get to the pit very easily. And it comes right out, okay? And then we're just going to cut each of these halves in about 6 pieces. And I think my peaches have variety of ripeness. Okay, we're going to try that one more time. And twist. Ta-da! Now, if for some reason it doesn't come right out, just cut down the other end like that and twist again, and you've got it. So that is my peach trick. And that's all our peaches. Now, I'm going to wipe up a little because it's wet. I don't want my hands to slip. Okay, now we're just going to sprinkle the juice of 1 lemon on these peaches, and they'll macerate for a little while. While they are doing that, I'll teach you how to make the glaze, because that's the part that really makes this into an upside-down cake. Well, I wanted to heat my pan up over low heat because we want it to be evenly warm. It doesn't have to be blazingly hot because you might scorch the sugar. What we want is a nice even heat. It's pretty warm. So I'm going to just take the sugar and my whisk, and I'm going to just pour it in here. Now this is just a 1/4 cup of the sugar. The rest of the sugar is going to go into the cake. So I'm just going to stir this around a little bit. Also, it's fun to watch it start to liquefy. Sugar is an amazing thing. I know it's got a bad reputation, but it can do some pretty great stuff when you're using it in baked goods. Now don't worry if it doesn't turn into a smooth liquid. Now we're going to have about 1 tablespoon of bourbon in this dish. 1 teaspoon is going to go into the glaze, and 2 teaspoons are going to go into the batter. All right, now be careful because this could bubble up and spray off in your face. I'm going to just put 1 teaspoon of my 3 teaspoons in here. Woo. All right, now that will flavor this really nicely. I'm going to add my butter. Now that's 2 tablespoons of butter. Now, I know I mentioned that it was going to liquefy, and to be honest with you, I'm surprised it hasn't. But don't worry if it doesn't. It might. Yours might behave a little differently than mine. And this is all going to smooth out in the oven. It should melt when I put the peaches and the batter on here and we bake it. So let's see how it turns out. We're going to be in this together. All right, we're ready to make our batter. First thing we're going to do is we're going to combine our flour. We've got a cup of flour, and I've got 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. So put that on top, and then I'm going to use my whisk and mix that up really well. That ensures that the baking powder and baking soda are well incorporated in the flour. And I'm going to put that aside because we don't need it quite yet. All right, now that we've mixed our flour with our baking soda and baking powder, we can move on to our next ingredients. What we like to do in most baking projects is to beat together the butter and sugar till they're creamy, add the eggs, basically add all the liquids. You've got the liquids, and then you add the flour in several batches so it's incorporated. When you're making a cake, it's important not to overbeat the flour. You don't want to release a lot of gluten and make it stiff. What you want is for it to be light, fluffy, and delicious, which of course this is going to be. So we've got butter, sugar, eggs, a little bourbon, the 2 teaspoons that are left, and the zest of 1 lemon, and I have a little vanilla. So just the combination of flavors, just thinking about the combination of bourbon with vanilla, bourbon vanilla, doesn't that sound good? And lemon zest. It's going to be out of this world. All right, I'm going to move these aside and we can get started with our mixing. So here's my trusty little mixer. I have had this for so many years. Okay, start with the butter. And get all that good butter, put that in there. Now you want room temperature butter. You don't want it to be melted, but you do want it to be soft. That way it incorporates really beautifully with the sugar. And this is the 3/4 cup of sugar. We've already used a 1/4 cup in our glaze. That's the sugar. And now I like to use the paddle beater with a stand mixer, but if you have a hand mixer and you just have a regular beater, it'll work too. You want this to cream together until it's fluffy and well mixed. Now I'm going to add the eggs. Now when you add the eggs, something funny happens. It doesn't incorporate as well, so you have to use your spatula and scrape down the sides. I know you want to skip this step, but it just takes a second. And that's it. All right, this is going to be done in no time. All right, I'm going to add my lemon zest. We want this to mix nicely. And you know, lemon zest can be very moist depending on how dry your lemon is. And this is the zest of 1 lemon. You can use a grater. I like to use a microplane for my zester, but any kind of grater. Just make sure that all you get is the yellow part, not any of the white part, because that part has bitterness, and we don't want that in our beautiful cake. Here comes the vanilla and our bourbon. Once again, I'm going to scrape down the sides, and then I'm going to start adding the flour. Okay, so now we're going to add in the flour, which is a mixture of flour, baking soda, and baking powder. Nicely mixed together. I'm going to do this in batches. We're going to have half and half. There's half. Do it on low. As soon as it's incorporated, you can still have some floury parts. Add the rest. Okay, that's it. All right, so I'm going to bring the cast iron pan over and we're going to start working with our peaches and compose this whole thing, putting it together before we bake it. All right, here we are with our still warm pan, which is great because that means it's going to be warm for the oven. I have to be honest, I'm not sure I'm not sure about this glaze, but let's give it a shot. I'm going to just smooth it out a little, maybe put it evenly. Okay, now this part I think you're going to want to use your hands. We're going to arrange our peaches in circles around the edge of the pan, and we're going to just work our way around till they're all in here. And you want to overlap them slightly. They will look better and it will taste great. So just work on this until it's all done. It's kind of a fun project. What I'm also really liking is the color of the peach skin. Now, these peaches had pretty thin skin. Sometimes peaches have very tough skins. If that's your peach, then you might want to peel them, but I don't think you need to, and frankly, that's what makes this so appealing, is you don't have to. If you peel them, great, that's up to you, but I like not having that extra step. Peeling peaches is a little time consuming. Doesn't always turn out the way you hope. Now, if all goes well, this should give us a beautiful pattern when this comes out of the pan. Okay, we've got the circle done. Now what I would do is I'd look around and look for places where the peaches aren't completely filling the space. And then I would add just a few more. You don't have to use all of them. You can save these for another purpose. Now we're going to take our batter and just plop it on top, trying not to disturb the peaches. Do it in a few additions. So I'm just going to use this little spatula to kind of push this down and get sort of an even layer on here. Now I'm going to try to bring it just to the edges. That's it. Now I'm going to put it in the oven and we'll see how it turns out in about 45 minutes. So stay tuned. Our Bourbon Peach Upside-Down Cake didn't need as much cooking as I thought it would. I was able to get a clean toothpick out of it at 35 minutes. So we took it out of the oven. It was done, beautifully golden brown. And I've been letting it cool on this rack for about 15 or 20 minutes. It's important to not cool it all the way. I think it should still be warm in order to come out of the pan easily. And how easily this is going to be, we're going to find out together. I'm going to take a nice flat plate, put it on top of the pan, and I think I'm going to have to use some mitts for this because it's going to be pretty hot. All right, so let's see. I'm going to kick that out of the way. All right, here we go. This is going to be interesting. I think I'll get my hands. Okay, here goes. Oh, there we go. Believe it or not, I just heard it plop. I'm going to push it over to the center and isn't that gorgeous? Oh my God, it looks beautiful. And what a nice glaze on top. It smells amazing. So I'm going to push it just a little bit to the center of my plate. Okay. Well, it's still steaming. So I recommend waiting a few minutes until it's cooled off a little bit more before you actually serve it. But this is perfect because you can get it out of the pan and then have it sitting there waiting for your guests to arrive so that they can ooh and ah. In the meantime, the glaze should firm up a little bit, which would be perfect. So we'll see you in a few minutes when it's cool enough to eat. Our Bourbon Peach Upside-Down Cake has cooled off enough now so we can cut a piece and give it a try. I think what will work also and look really nice are wedges. So kind of like a pie, but it is a cake. So here we go. And oh yes, it's really gorgeous. Smells incredibly peachy. Let's give this a try. It's delicious. The bottom crust, which as you recall was on the top, is crispy, crunchy. You can definitely taste the bourbon. It's not overwhelming. It's just the right hint of bourbon to mix up with this wonderful peach and sugar flavor and vanilla. I can definitely taste the vanilla. It's wonderful. This will be one of my favorite summertime desserts to serve to my friends. Have to have a second taste because it's just too good. I love it. Well, I hope you give it a try. And that's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We really appreciate you being here with us at Lucy's Kitchen. And come back next time when we share more delicious recipes from my kitchen to yours.